Hi, and welcome back to Keep Smiling with Larry Rifkin. I'm Larry Rifkin. How are you? Today I want to discuss, and we've discussed several things in the past. Today I'd like to discuss communications. Communicating is so important. In the past, we've worked on ourselves and we've learned that our happiness comes from inside. We create our own reality with our thoughts. We're able to still our mind. We're able to sit down and put ourselves in a state of relaxation and allow. And all of this that we've done up until this point is working within ourselves, which is the most important thing. Everything comes from within our happiness, love, all of that. But we live in a world with other people. And we live in a place where communication is so important. And if we want on our path to make sure that we remain true to our belief systems and what we are, we need to be able to communicate not just within ourselves and within our mind, but to other people out there. The skill, the art of communication, and it is an art, to be done properly, takes some conscious thoughts and some conscious effort. And when we're communicating with somebody else, and it doesn't matter who it is that we're communicating with, it can be with a business partner, it can be with an employee, it can be with a spouse, it can be with a date, it could be with a child. Communication is the art of being able to express yourself to somebody else and being able to allow yourselves to listen to the message, hear what they're saying, and being able to effectively communicate your thought. Now, when we communicate and we're communicating with other people, there are a couple of different areas that I like to make sure that I work on because I want to make sure that my message is received. And I do check as I'm communicating with people by watching their body language, by watching their facial expressions, to make sure that they're understanding and receiving what I'm trying to say. Now, when we communicate with other people, it's important to do so. The first thing I say is that when you are communicating with somebody else, make sure you give them the courtesy of your full attention. Don't be texting or talking to somebody else or writing while you're doing it. Look at them. Communicate with them openly and honestly. This is a big point, especially for those of us that are following a path of spirituality. Always being honest and being able to get our point across. Now, a couple tools that I use and a couple of different areas that I try to check on when I'm communicating with people, and I'll go through these with you, is I think the most important thing is gentle eye contact. When you're talking and communicating with somebody, look them in the eye. Look them in the eye with love and beauty and truth. But look them in the eye and make sure that your eye contact is direct yet gentle. The eyes are the windows to the soul. If other people that we're communicating with are understanding what we're saying and it's resonating with them, we'll be able to know that through their eyes. So one of the most important things when we're communicating with somebody else is always look them in the eye and always have gentle eye contact. The next area is our facial expression. When we're talking to somebody, when we're communicating with somebody, when we're looking at them, they're looking at us, they're looking in our eyes, and they see in our eyes our face. And your face should always be expressive, be illustrated the point that you're trying to get across. Our facial expressions and our eyes are what are inviting, are what allow people into our world. If we look at them with love and with peace and gently, they're more apt to be open to receiving our message than if we're looking at them with cross eyes and a stern look on our face. When we do that, their defenses or their walls go up and go up and go up. And if you want to communicate with them, the object is to break these walls down and to bring these walls down. And one of the best ways to do that is not give the other person a reason to build these walls. So we want to make sure that we always have kind facial expression. Know when I'm communicating with people. People always tell me, Larry, you're so animated. You always, yes, what I'm saying, my emotions and my feelings do come out. Do come out my facial expressions and do come out my eyes. And they're received, I think, easier and with less effort because there are no defenses, no walls that are being put up. They're receptive to seeing the message. I think we have our eye contact and our facial expression. The next important area in communicating and in communicating effectively is our tone of voice. We want to speak in a tone of voice that is inviting, that is non-threatening, that asks questions and addresses our thoughts and comes across in a way that is being able to be received easily. And one of the ways that we do that is with our tone of voice. I remember as I was going into business many years ago, and I started doing speaking mostly in meetings, in management meetings and in sales meetings. And I would have a meeting and I would make my points and then I would go home and discuss it with my mentor, with my guide and my hero, which was my father. And my father would tell me, Larry, if you want to get your point across, don't raise your voice. Lower your voice. When you lower your voice, other people are more attentive and really try to make sure that they hear every word that you're saying. This works effectively in almost all situations. Even in challenging situations, when you're getting heated and upset and you're talking to somebody, when you raise your voice, again, walls go up, defenses go up, and people stop listening. When you lower your voice and bring it down, and don't have emotion behind it that is threatening or upsetting, people will come into you, come into your world, and want to listen closer and more attentively. And that's really important. Along with our tone of voice comes body language. Body language is very important. You can tell when people are open and receptive to the message that you're giving and that you're sending out, and that they're receiving it. And you can tell when they're not, when they close up and they turn off. You want to make sure that your body language is inviting, is open, is again non-threatening. And I know, always we use hand gestures. hand gestures and body language emphasize our point. I know that I am very animated and I use hand gestures all the time. But doing so is almost like an exclamation point on what we're trying to say. So, one of the other things in effective communicating is our hand gestures, our body language, our tone of voice, and our eye contact. So, these are some of the steps towards effective communications. And as we use these in communicating, you'll find that communicating with other people becomes much easier. People understand what we're trying to say a little bit quicker and with a little bit more depth and breadth, and they're open to our message. Another point that we want to keep in mind in an effective communication is having a relaxed disposition. You don't want to be tense and uptight because, again, this comes across at times as threatening or as aggressive or as uncomfortable. When you're talking to somebody, relax. Let your body relax. You're looking at them, you're communicating, and as we're communicating from our mind, we're communicating from our heart, we're communicating from every pore in our body. So you want to make sure that your disposition is one of coming from a state of relaxation so that it's a non-threatening situation. It is much more inviting, and the more you relax and naturally communicate, the more the person that you're talking to or the people that you're talking to will see that. They'll feel more comfortable with that, and in turn, they will relax with that. So that's very, very important. All of these points in communication are very important. Communicating is so important. We do this all the time, thousands and thousands of times a day. So we want to do it as effectively and as naturally and as effortlessly as possible. Another point we want to keep in mind in communicating is the rate of speed at which we talk. When we rush our words, number one, it doesn't give us enough time to think about what we're trying to say, what we're trying to communicate, and getting it out there. Also, when we speak quickly, people aren't picking up all the nuances, all of the points, everything that we're trying to say. But if you slow down your speech just a little bit and you watch, you'll realize that as we keep our speech and our volume lower and our body expression out there and relaxed, and we're making eye contact, and we slow down the rate of what we're saying, it comes across more effectively, more intelligently, and it's received very easily. Because again, what we're doing is we're knocking down those walls of defense. Those walls of defense are something natural that people build up all the time. We've learned to do this since our infancy. We always build up defenses. Well, our object in communicating effectively is to take these walls down and not to have defenses built up. And part of this communication style allows us to be able to do that. Another point that I want to make when we're communicating is keeping it short, keeping it simple, keeping it to the point, keeping it brief. We have a tendency at times, or a lot of us have a tendency at times, of over talking. We make the point and we continue to talk and we continue to talk. And the original point that we made is lost in the chatter that comes afterwards. So if we're trying to make a point and get our message across to somebody, keep it brief, keep it succinct. Say what it is that you're trying to say. And then leave it. Don't embellish. Don't keep going. Make your point. Slow down. And let it sink in. And I think one of the last points I want to make in communication that we want to keep in mind is the words that we choose to use. Words are very powerful. When we say something, it's out there. It can never be taken back. We can apologize for it. We can say that we didn't mean it. But once we state words, they're out there. They're out there to the person we're communicating with, and they're out there to the universe. So you want to choose the words that you use very carefully. I try personally to always use language in the present tense and with words that are received easily and words that are positive. I always prefer to take a statement, and if it's a challenging statement or a negative statement, if I can rephrase that statement and put it in a positive term, we're using more positive words, we're reinforcing the positive thoughts that we have and the positive energy that we're sending out in our thoughts. And again, as we send them out, as basically the law of attraction states, like attracts like, that's what's going to come back to us. The words that we pick are so important. Words are powerful. Words can hurt or words can empower. I know that sometimes we speak quickly and without thinking. And usually the words that come out of our mouths when we do something like that are words that come out in a negative sense, in a negative tone, and that hinders the communication process. If we choose our words wisely, choosing our words, choosing our phrases, and choosing the statements that we're making, and we set an intention to make sure that when we speak and when we share our ideas and when we share our thoughts, we do so coming from a place of being positive, coming from a place of compassion, coming from a place of love, coming from a place of happiness. Again, we're knocking down the walls that are up there. We're knocking down the defenses. And the message that we're putting out is received much easier. And the last point I want to make about effective communicating, and this is very important, is listening. We make the point, we put it out there, and then we allow the person that we're communicating with to speak and to address the point that we made. And we want to listen with an open mind. We don't want to have a set thought in our mind saying, okay, this is what they're going to say, and this is what it's going to be, because that's all we're going to hear. You know, the statement our parents taught us since the time that we're born. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. That's very important because in communicating, listening is as important as speaking. So you want to be able to listen effectively and be able to do that. So again, when we come down to communicating with somebody else, the points we want to keep in mind are: have gentle eye contact, kind, easy facial expressions, a warm tone of voice, our body language, watching what our hands do, watching what our body does, coming from a relaxed disposition, slow speech rate, keeping it brief, choosing the words that we use very carefully, and listening. And if we can apply all of these in our communication skills, we'll find that it's much easier, more natural, and flows to communicate with other people every time that we do in every instance in our day. I hope this was some information that you can take with you and use on a daily basis. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, keep smiling.